Hello everyone, welcome back to YK Reviews. As we're continuing the Scream movie reviews, we're on to Scream 3, so let's get into it here. Now with Scream 3, this one came out in 2000 and it was supposed to be mostly the end of the movie trilogy. They didn't know that there was going to be sequels coming up later on 2011, 2022, 2023. So this was essentially the end of the Scream franchise, and for me this, in terms of quality of movie, I feel like dipped a lot versus 1 and 2. It had more of a scary movie type vibe to it versus a Scream movie type vibe to it, even having the traditional trope of taking place in Hollywood, so it just felt like it wasn't as strong as the other two. But there were some really good elements in there that I feel like they introduced and that they added to it, which we'll dive into as we get into the movie review. Because with the opening sequence, once again, the great opening sequences here, I feel like this one is a better one in terms of the opening sequences here. The movie starts off with Courtney in his car. He's driving, you see that he's got the fame and fortune that he's been desiring, and he gets a phone call from a woman where the phone call starts off innocent. They have like this back and forth with one another, and then as the conversation is continuing, it slowly turns where this is revealed to have been Ghostface on the phone with him. And this is one of the new elements that they brought into the movie, is that Ghostface does his voice changing thing, which has got its good moments and its bad moments, because with the good moments, I feel like they do use it quite a bit in the movie. It has got some great elements there when you've got Ghostface using Cotton Weary's voice in this opening sequence here. The only drawback I would say is, first of all, how did he get all these voices to use throughout the movie, and also us not being able to hear Roger L. Jackson's voice, the iconic Ghostface voice. That's another drawback with this movie, because he is so iconic with Ghostface, so I would have loved to hear more from him rather than like individual voices from Ghostface. But with this, again, opening sequence, you have him having that conversation with Ghostface, and then you get to see Cotton Weary's girlfriend being stalked by Ghostface, but the twist of it is that Ghostface is using Cotton Weary's voice, so in her mind, she's being haunted by Cotton Weary, being stalked by Cotton Weary, until when Cotton Weary actually does show up, she smacks him with a golf club, and then that is her undoing, where she gets killed by Ghostface, and also Cotton Weary then gets killed off by Ghostface. I'll be completely honest, I was a bit disappointed they killed off Cotton Weary, but not as big of an impact versus Randy's death or other characters' deaths in future movies. But a really good solid entry, really good solid opening sequence in the Scream franchise here. And then we've got the tradition of catching up to these legacy characters. We get to see what's going on with them and where they are in their lives. So you've got Sidney Prescott now in this secluded area in this house with just her and a dog. We come to find out that she's a crisis counselor, so she helps women over the phone, which I think is a good development because of everything that she's been through in the previous two movies. So obviously she wants to help people over the phone, and she gets a phone call once again from Ghostface using the voice changer, pretending to be a woman, and then turning into like pretending to be Sidney's mother, wanting to get her location. So basically Ghostface is now targeting Sidney, and then you get to see what Gail and Dewey are up to. So basically, because of the killings from Cotton Weary, there's a new character, Officer Kincaid. He enlists the help of Gail Weathers to investigate these murders, which leads her to go to Hollywood to go find Dewey. And we find out that Dewey is basically a bodyguard type of character for these actors who are basically recreating the Scream movies in terms of Stab. So we're on the set of Stab 3, and this is basically where the movie is taking place. It's taking place in Hollywood. It's taking place in this film setting, and that I feel like took away from the Scream movie in itself, because with this writer, it's a different writer from the first two Scream movies, and you can really feel that with the way everything was written here. Like, parts of the movie just sort of draw you out of it, because with the movie and with like the Hollywood element and the actors and all that kind of stuff, it sort of doesn't reel you in, and you're not really invested with these characters as much as you are with the previous two movies. So we come to find out that Gail meets up with Dewey. Dewey is this bodyguard for these actors. They're basically paying Dewey Riley, Gail Weathers, Sidney Prescott, Randy. So like you've got these actors imitating the Scream legacy characters are we're used to. And so then we spend like majority of the film going through like these actors and this chase investigation that they're going on, Dewey, Gale, and these characters like Gale, and you've got the fake Gale, and then these other characters. So basically the first death, which honestly, parts of it I liked, parts of it I didn't like here. So you've got the first character going to meet up with one of the directors. They're having this phone call where basically they're going through the script and there's more rewrites, which I thought was a very funny element, since like the actual script of Scream 3 had a lot of rewrites too. One rewrite and one original idea was having Stu Marcher come back, which I'm so gutted that they didn't go for that one. But in this case, they went for this direction here, and then her noting down that it's going to be a rewrite once again, only to find out that she was actually speaking to Ghostface. So then the Ghostface is stalking her. She enters a room with props of Ghostface, which again, you're just seeing these Hollywood props, Hollywood elements. Like, I liked that you just have like this room closet full of Ghostface mask costumes, Ghostface coming and like going and attacking her, but then you've got these silly elements of her with this prop knife, prop weapons using there, just having that parody factor rather than an actual intense sequence suspense for having her killed off. So you don't really feel much when she does get killed off. And we also come to find out that Ghostface is now killing off these actors and actresses one by one based on how they're getting killed off in the script. So again, this element of Gale, fake Gale, Dewey in this house, chasing leads, chasing clues. You have Jennifer, who plays fake Gale. Her bodyguard gets killed off. Basically, long story short, house gets blown up. One of the actors, I forgot his name in the movie too. The house gets blown up. He dies. So everybody's just all suspicious with one another here. So a lot of like this sort of element just takes it away from me. Like, I didn't really enjoy that much in terms of that aspect of the movie. I felt like it was a bit weak for me. Honestly, the movie really does pick up when Sidney comes to Hollywood and you have the legacy characters. You've got Sidney, Dewey, and Gale all together now trying to figure out who's Ghostface. And that's when the movie for me really does pick up. You've got that great Scream element there, and then we even get like an appearance from Randy. So you've got Randy's sister, who coincidentally is in the set of Stab 3. She meets up with plays this video that Randy left, and I really like the way they wrote Randy in this movie, and like his speech as well, in terms of like the rules of the movie once again, how it's the end of a trilogy, anybody can die off, including the main character, i.e. Sidney. And even just like his little speech at the end, basically saying goodbye, saying to some of you, I'll see you soon. Just really perfect writing when it comes to that particular scene.
So in closing, let me say, good luck, Godspeed, and for some of you, I'll see you soon.
And so then you've got Gale and fake Gale doing more investigation around the set. They go and meet up with Princess Leia from Star Wars. I really like that cameo appearance there. They come to find out that Sidney's mother, Maureen Prescott, is actually in Hollywood, because the killer would always leave pictures of Sidney's mother, Maureen, from way back when at the crime scene. So they come to find out that her mother was actually in Hollywood, and we come to find out that her name was Rena Reynolds. But the problem is that when she was in Hollywood, this was a time of when people were getting taken advantage of. People were doing what they can to get the roles that they needed to get up the ladder in Hollywood. I won't go into too much details, but I like the fact that they did bring that up into this movie, and like what people are doing and how it takes effect on people. So we come to find out that Sidney's mother was taken advantage of by men in Hollywood. Meanwhile, that's going on. You get to see Sidney go into the set of Stab 3, and she gets to see her house from the Scream movie. You get to replicate that, and you get to see her just walking around the house thinking about Billy Loomis and her from Scream, like the relationships, the scenes that they had in her room, only for her to get attacked by Ghostface. And you have that like element there, because even like in the movie too, you have like these scenes where Sidney was getting these hallucinations of her mother, like dream sequences, that kind of stuff, elements from Nightmare on Elm Street type of thing. Which I honestly wasn't a fan of. So you have her walking around the house, you see Ghostface under this like crime scene mattress duvet, they're haunting Sidney. We actually get to see the crime scene of Sidney's mother's murder, which I thought was a nice element there. Ghostface going after her, only for him to escape when Dewey and the police arrive. So they basically get the idea of putting Sidney to the police station for her own protection. And that's when we move to like the third act. For me, another like birthday party going on here, and once again like the characters in the movie, like these actors and actresses who are playing our legacy characters in the movie around the house, all splitting up. It felt like a Scooby-Doo episode with these characters going around trying to see who Ghostface is, finding out, him killing them off one by one, which honestly I didn't have much care for when they were getting killed off, because I wasn't attached to these characters, didn't feel any type of way when they were getting killed off. Just wanted to see the reveal, wanted to see legacy characters involved. So I would rather have just focused on that rather than watch these new characters do some Mystery Inc. type episode on screen. So now that you've got Dewey and Gale there at the house, Ghostface captures them, ties them up, calls Sidney and tells her to come to the mansion, to the house, so that he can have like a face-to-face with her. So when she does arrive, she tries to free Gale, she tries to free Dewey, only for Ghostface to then appear, where she then shoots him in the chest. And that's when Officer Kincaid also arrives too, and he gets like knocked out by Ghostface, and Ghostface ends up having this chase sequences with Sidney where it ends up basically leading to the screening room, and that's where we get revealed of Ronan, who is Ghostface. And I'll be completely honest, I didn't even recognize him. Like, you barely see a lot of scenes with him in the movie, and he's basically the director of the Stab movies. You come to find out that his motive for all of this, for being Ghostface, was basically he is Sidney's half brother. His mother is her mother, and when she was in Hollywood, she got pregnant with him as a child of being taken advantage of, basically. And so all these years later, he tries to go reunite with her, only for her to reject him and didn't want anything to do with his life. And for me, this does have like a good motive, a good twist, but just the way the reveal came about for me was left disappointed. Even Sidney's face, I was like, who the hell are you? I've never met you. And the fact that he even had to introduce himself to her,
Roman Bridger, director,
just goes to show the build-up and the element just felt very flat. And even him, at certain points when he's explaining everything, having a little hissy fit in terms of like how everything should have been his, and even the fact that they want to build it back to Scream 1 where he was responsible for Billy and Stu going on this murder spree, I did not like at all. I don't have anything against Ronan in terms of the character in itself, but I just feel like it was very poorly written. The reveal was very meh and just felt flat, and overall the motives and the way he just was talking about everything was just very dull for me. So not the best in terms of a Ghostface reveal or a third act. But once he does get through all of this, once he gets all of his hissy fits out of his system, he has this little fight with Sidney, where I also forgot to mention too that the way he survived the shooting from Sidney earlier was that he was wearing a bulletproof vest. So then they go have like this little fist fight around the screening room where he ends up shooting her in the chest, where we also come to find out that these siblings think alike, both wearing bulletproof vests, and so she ends up stabbing him. And again, this whole burst of energy, one more time somebody gets up, Dewey and Gale finally enter the room, and Dewey ends up shooting him in the head, so we get to kill Ronan in this movie. And then basically the ending of the movie, once I mentioned in the beginning of the video, is that this sort of felt like the ending of the trilogy. So you have basically Dewey proposing to Gale in a very cute way, where he opens up a book, he opens up Gale's book, and the ring is right inside there. So basically they're going to be proposed, they're going to be getting married, living happily ever after. Sidney also is, you see that she's like got all of this fear out of her system, because at one point when she enters a house, the door opens by the wind, she just leaves the door open, so basically indicating that she isn't afraid. And the movie basically wraps up with that. So overall, a decent movie, but in terms of the Ghostface reveal, the characters in the movie, the elements that were being played when it comes to like the Hollywood aspect, all just felt very lackluster and meh, and not the strongest way to close out a trilogy, in my opinion. I felt like this movie was lacking a lot compared to the first two movies. So overall, a very okay movie, but not the best in terms of the Scream franchise. But let me know your thoughts, your opinions down in the comment section below. Were you a fan of this movie? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? What you thought about the reveal of Ghostface? Let me know down in the comment section below here. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, like button, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos here, as we're wrapping up the reviews of the Scream movies, Scream 4, 5 coming out just before Scream 6. So keep an eye on the channel there. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. This is YK Reviews.